Hi, how you doing? And welcome back to another video on the channel. What we've got for you today is a new video looking at the initial prices of some of the players that have been released so far. As we're talking, FPL has just gone live, so if you do want to stay in contact with all the content, we're going to be producing videos hopefully every day before the deadline in game week 1 that will hopefully help you with your team. So please do subscribe, like the video. The support is always really appreciated. Let's get into player number 1. So the first player I'm going to take a look at and talk about today is Florian Wirtz, who is newly transferred over to Liverpool. And a load of FPL managers and content creators are talking about getting him in their teams because he's only 8.5 million, which on the face of it looks really good. It looks fantastic value, but I do have some reservations, mainly the tough fixtures to start. I think, not only is he competing for minutes against players like McAllister and Szoboszlai, he's also got Newcastle and Arsenal in the first three games of the season. Sometimes these players do take a little bit of a while to settle in, and it worries me how many people might own him at the start of the season. Think of Tunku, think of Kwanzaa, of previous seasons, players who are really highly owned going into game week 1, it doesn't work out for them. And what happens is because they're so highly owned, loads of managers sell them and they drop in price. So if you're new to FPL, the way player prices work during the season is if a load of FPL managers buy a player, his price will go up. If a load of managers sell a player, his price will go down. And if Ertz is very highly owned at the start of the season, where there's the most number of engaged managers there will be all year, a load of people will panic and think, oh, he's not started in game week 1. He's got Newcastle Arsenal next. I'm going to sell him. He's not worth it. And he'll drop down in price. I think he could be worth it, but for me, I'll probably be waiting till game week 4 in order just to see how he settles in and works in the Liverpool team. I think the fact that he's playing for Liverpool does help. But he's also got a lot of players to compete with, and there's no guarantee he'll settle in straight away. When we take a look at midfielders from last season of players who, made at least 15 goal contributions in at least 10 appearances, we can see he'd probably fit in about here. Because he played in the Bundesliga last season, well, he doesn't have any Premier League data. He did score 10 goals and get 12 assists in 31 games in the Bundesliga, and it'd place him around here in terms of his comparison to other players. So because he's at 8.5 million, it really depends on the prices of players like Bruno Fernandes, Cole Palmer, and Bumo. But I think rather than looking at a new player coming in as the next new sort of hot property in FPL, sometimes we can overlook the tried and tested players who will probably get you more points initially whilst Verts is getting settled into Liverpool's system. I know people will say they've spent a lot of money on him, he will play, but we've seen a lot of players who've had a lot of money spent on them before, and it does still take them a while to settle in. So the next player we're looking at is Alexander Isak, and he's been priced a bit higher, I believe 2 million higher than he was last season. I still think he's worth it. He did get off to a slow start at the beginning of last season. He did pick it up in the second half and ended up with over 20 goals. I think the fixtures do look good. I know people will see the Liverpool and Arsenal games and go, whoa, 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 it's too difficult to run at the start of the season. But both those games are at home. And Newcastle are so good at home. Like I don't really see that as being a problem. And I'm not expecting him to score 38 goals in a season. So if he doesn't score in those games, it's not the end of the world either. I think the fixtures surrounding those are really good. When we look at the comparison here between striker efficiency in terms of shots taken and their conversion rate, we can see that Alexander Isak is pretty high on both. So the fact that he's getting a lot of shots off is great because you want that quantity in FPL. You want a striker who is going to be taking loads of shots for a team. Of course, you want them to convert those shots as well. But when we look at players who have really converted more shots, other than Haaland, you've got players like Evan Nielsen, Strand Larsen, Mike Calvert-Lewin. And whilst they're converting them at a slightly better rate, they're not taking anywhere near as many shots as Alexander Isak. So he does offer a good amount of shots taken and a good conversion rate, which is the dream combination. I think when you look at a price comparison to someone like Haaland as well, it would probably be about 14.5 million. I think that 4 million-ish difference can really be invested elsewhere in the team. So for me, pound for pound, I think I probably would have Isak in my team rather than Haaland. So the next player we're looking at is Jordan Pickford. And for me, Wish he was still at 5 million. He's gone up in price for the second season in a row to 5.5 million. And whilst he's still a great option, it does put him in that comparison bracket between, you know, players who are playing for teams who are looking for Champions League football or challenging for the league title. Now you're comparing him to them. If he was at 5 million, there's no doubt I probably would have got him in the team this season just because of those fixtures as well at the start of the year. And he was the highest scoring points for goalkeeper last season. I still think he's worth it. I still think 5.5 million is great. I personally had Raya for pretty much all of last season, and he was 5.5 million. So I have no real issue of spending that much money on a goalkeeper. I do also think Everton are quite solid. When we look at keeper appearances last season, so keepers who made at least 10 appearances and made at least 40 saves, we can see that Jordan Pickford was really good. There's only Matt Sells and David Raya who kept more clean sheets, and there's only Aaron Ramsdale and Matt Flecken who made more saves. So if you're looking for a player who does both, gets clean sheets and makes saves and gets save points, Jordan Pickford is probably in your top three keepers in FPL, regardless of price. I think if it was even more expensive at 6 million, it'd still be a conversation to be had. But I think that would steer people away. 5.5 million, I do think he is absolutely worth a shout in your teams. You know, you compare them to other teams who don't keep as many clean sheets and players who make those saves, and I think there's no issue there in getting him in. So the final player we're going to look at is Ryan Ait-Nouri, and Man City's fixtures do look great. What doesn't look great, however, is the price of 6 million. For me, that is just too much money for Ait-Nouri. Puts him in the bracket of Gabriel Saliba, even Gvardiol, his teammate at Man City. I think I would rather have just to because of Gvardiol's flexibility. You think, well, maybe they're competing for the left back position, but if Gvardiol isn't playing left back, he's playing centre back. If Nouri's not playing left back and Gvardiol's there, well, where does he go? Well, he probably goes to the bench, and you definitely don't want a 6 million defender going on the bench. It's a bit like Florian Wirtz from Liverpool. These new signings, you just think you've got to be a little bit careful because everyone's like, oh, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. Well, what if they don't? What if he doesn't play? You know, what if he doesn't play in that first game and then all of a sudden people put so much emphasis into who starts in game week one, and then they put a ton of pressure on the transfers as to whether they put them in or out of game week two. And I just think Man City players are worth it for this game, for these next few weeks. But in terms of where they're going from there, it's up for question. So in terms of keeping clean sheets and final third passes, we can see that Ryan Nouri is doing okay. 7 clean sheets last season, but compared to other players, not as good. We also consider him to be quite attacking with successful final third passes, but he's not doing that great in comparison to those players as well. You might be thinking, well, he played for Wolves last season, he's going to get more clean sheets from Man City. But Man City only kept 4 more clean sheets than Wolves the whole of last season. And so I don't think there's going to be that many points to gain. I also think the price makes me look at someone like Cucurella or Milos Kerkez from Chelsea or Liverpool. And I just think they will be more solid options going forward, just because we know Man City's rotation policy and what it really means in terms of getting good selections moving forward. So that's the video. Please let me know what you think. Like, subscribe. The support is always really appreciated. Also, comment any ideas, any questions that you might have. It's great to engage with managers in FPL. And please also go check out my latest videos that I've put out regarding the new point scoring system for defensive defenders and defensive midfielders, and how that might then for make them factor in your FPL team selection video. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. Hopefully have a good week, and I will see you in the next one.